Nolan, Hawkeye, Anthony here, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week as always. We're doing this on a Thursday instead of a Wednesday. Had a bit of a situation yesterday, but either way, we're giving you guys your weekly podcast. We're excited to do it. There's a lot to get into. There's the Iowa Open practice or spring practice, whatever you want to call it, spring football. There was Iowa Hawkeyes being drafted. A little bit of drama on the Twitter sphere with Zach Wilson. There's drama with the CJ Fredrick story. A lot of good stuff to get to. Plus Iowa's field hockey team in the Final Four, plus Iowa baseball doing very well. Before we get into any of that, I just want to thank you guys for your guys' support. Truly, you guys have been, absolutely fantastic when it comes to YouTube, the views going up, SoundCloud, the whole 9 yards. You guys have been awesome. The website. If you guys do want to donate, you guys can. There is on the website, there is a PayPal. I may do a Patreon. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how I feel about that, because part of me, just wants to completely do this out of the generosity of my heart. But the other part of me realizes, in this capitalistic society, that our time is worth, a little bit. So I don't know. It's just kind of weird. But anyways, before I get into that, smash the follow button on Twitter at 247 Hawkeye. The best place to find me is on Facebook, Nolan, Hawkeye, Anthony, and obviously my partner, Dean Freen, aka Dean Frine. I'm introducing you. How you doing, Dean?
I'm doing great this morning. Thank you.
It's good to hear from you. Let me ask you, what is your thoughts on the payment thing? Because where I'm at on it, honestly, this is where I'm at. And I know this is kind of a weird thing, but I'm just curious. There's part of my mind that's like, okay, everybody who does something, even if it's out of the generosity of their heart, if it's good, I don't know, you should take advantage of it. What do you think, Dean? It's not crazy, is it?
You're talking about the name, image, likeness payment thing?
Yes, correct.
Okay, yeah. I used to be against it because I thought these guys were getting a free college education, and I thought that was enough. But honestly, I don't have any problem with these guys making some money off of their name and stuff.
Yeah.
But people don't understand, this is not like a payment where the university is going to cut them a check.
Right.
No, this is separate from the university. The university doesn't have anything to do with this. This would be something like if J-Bo went out and wanted to do a commercial for a local car dealership or something like that.
Well, honestly, Dean, yes. We're talking about that right now. And Dean, I agree with everything you said. The only thing I've ever said is that I don't know how in this day and age, there is not a plan on the table that makes all the parties involved happy enough. You have Title IX, you have the politics of this. There's just not something on the table. But absolutely, I agree with you there. I was more asking about our website, if it's okay for the payment thing, but that's all good. We're gonna get, what do you think?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
It's all good, partner. Probably a bad question anyways. That's more on me anyways. All right, let's get into the open practice. That's why we're here. The spring game, if you will. And I'm gonna, by the way, credit to Hawkeye Nation for getting good video here. Definitely going to give them the credit here. They deserve it. I'm going to put the Spencer Petras highlights on first. For those of you guys listening on the podcast, just audio, we do have video now. You guys can find it on Nolan, Hawkeye, Anthony, or you guys can find it on Facebook, whatever works for you. So my thoughts right out of the get-go, Dean, is that there's only 2 practices that we see, and it is so limited. It really is. I go back and I think about the time, the time frame in my own sports and things like that. And the reality is, I can think back multiple occasions where guys that were not solid were not game time ready, but they did solid in 1 or 2 practices. And, it is what it is. So my point here is that we don't see everything. This is only 2 practices, and the coaches have a much bigger landscape when it comes to, for instance, Dean, they have seen Spencer Petras, Alex Padilla, and Deuce Hogan throw over 100 balls. We haven't even seen them throw 100. Spencer, we've seen throw 100 because of last season. But outside of that, we haven't even seen these guys throw 100 balls. So it's very hard. The one thing I will say, and then I'll toss it to you, Dean, on your thoughts, just, whatever you want to do, is, and I've talked about this many times, there is a massive difference between someone who is good in practice and someone who is good in a game where there are fans and there's a referee. I don't know what changes it. I really don't, because but I just know that there is a difference. I remember plenty of guys who were so good in practice, but it did not translate into the actual thing. So the spring game is a good way to assess who the gamers are, if you will, who show up under the bright lights, as they say. All right, Dean, you're up.
Okay. Well, let's go back on the people who practice better than they do in the games, or in the games better than they do in practice. Chuck Long, as everybody knows, one of our most beloved quarterbacks, has admitted that he had awful practices. He was just a gamer, and he came out and he just did what it had to take to win games. So it's possible. But let's go back to the three main quarterbacks here, because we lost the 4th one that you see in these films already. He's in the transfer portal. So his name is Connor. I can't even
Connor Kapisak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he saw the writing on the wall, and I don't blame him for getting out of Dodge. That was fine.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. All right, go ahead, Dean. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So watching these 3 films, all three of these guys on both of the open practices that I've watched, I'm not impressed with any of the 3 of them. Even Deuce Hogan, who I thought, I kind of liked what he did in the previous open practice. He did a lot more tuck and runs, but honestly, that's not what Iowa wants. They don't want the quarterback to tuck and run.
No, they don't.
No, and I saw that Deuce did less of that, and he looked uncomfortable in these games, this practice film that I saw. But I was expecting more out of Spencer in these highlights. I thought after 15 practices, this was his 15th practice of the spring, and I just thought I'd see this guy being on target. And honestly, I came away out of the 3. I came away being more impressed with Alex Padilla in these 3, out of these 3 than I did out of the other 2. And I found it amusing that I didn't hear about Kirk Ferentz's comments until later, after I'd already made my judgment and wrote it down that Alex Padilla was the more impressive of the 3 for me this week. And Kirk Ferentz even admitted that Alex Padilla is gaining ground.
I haven't been locked in that much to the drama, if you will, for the starting quarterback. For me, it is 100% Spencer. And right now I'm watching the highlights. And that when I say that, I'm not saying that Padilla hasn't shown promise, but, I'll be very clear. The reality is I have not seen Padilla even throw 100 balls. And the fact of the matter is, what he has shown me is not, he has not done well enough for me to be like, yep, he's it. He is, dang, that guy's a gamer. That's the truth. We go back to, that doesn't mean that it's not there, that there's not a possibility. When I watch Padilla, it's pretty obvious that he is very comfortable in the pocket. So is Spencer, but Padilla seems like a death by a million cuts type of guy. When you look at the passes, he's just like boom, 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 which is good. But again, I will emphatically say I haven't seen enough. And I go back to the CJ Beathard and Jake Rudock situation. And, Beathard had come in and he balled. I mean, he literally came in and won a game after being down by double digits to Pittsburgh, so it's a whole different situation for me. Also, Petrus is going against first team guys. And that's why they are called first team guys versus second team guys and third string, because there is a difference, folks. I promise you that there are levels to even the talent at Division I. I can promise you that. But Dean, I'll say this: I was not like that pass right there. That's a good pass, but I will say I was not massively impressed by Petrus either. I wasn't impressed by Padilla. And I wasn't impressed by Petrus either. It's really hard to judge too, because it's only 2 practices. So, right. I'll say that. So let's go back to what Kirk said here. He said Padilla is gaining ground. What was the original question? Do you remember?
I don't remember. What he first started to say is that both of them were gaining ground, and he started to slip up and make it sound like there was going to be a quarterback controversy, and he cut himself off and just said, "Well, Spencer's still our starting quarterback."
Yeah,
but you'd have to go back and play. It's on YouTube, the whole question and answer. But he cut himself. I thought it was kind of funny because he almost slipped up and said something he didn't want to say.
Right.
But, and I would agree with you. Right now, Spencer's our starting quarterback.
Yes.
Come the fall, he will be, unless something drastic happens. He will be.
It has to be drastic, Dean. I mean, it really does. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He basically has to get injured to be kept off the field come the fall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. Okay. So some other things. I'm watching the highlights here. I brought up Gavin Williams multiple times. He looked pretty damn good here. In the spring. What'd you think about the other stuff outside the quarterbacks? Because for me, Dean, everybody, by the way, I forgot, we're going to talk about this also, the post-spring, 247 rankings. Let's bring that up. Iowa 247 sports rankings. But, for me, when Iowa has, good rushing, they're all good. You go back to the 2015 season with CJ Beathard, and you watch the highlights, and there were multiple games where the running game just brought Iowa home, Dean. They just brought them home and won the game, with the multiple 3 dragon-headed monster, if that's even possible, that just did their thing. So outside of the quarterbacks, what excited you? I'll say right off the bat, outside of Gavin Williams, Sam Laporta looked real good in that second practice. It looks like Josiah Meeman is the 3rd tight end. I don't know how close he is to Luke Lachey, but that was the 3rd tight end. So yeah, what outside the quarterbacks, Dean?
Okay, well, you mentioned it earlier. Gavin Williams is definitely he's making. I don't know if Ivory Kelly Martin's not ready to go in the fall. I feel comfortable with Gavin Williams out there.
Great answer. So do I.
As number 2 running back. But however, if Ivory's ready to go, then Gavin will be the 3rd running back.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But again, it does kind of suck that we haven't been able to see Kelly Martin. I mean, geez Louise, that guy, if you think about it, Dean, how much we've been able to see him over 5 years is very, very limited. But, it does sound like Gavin Williams has made some movement. What'd you think about the tight ends and I don't know, the wide receivers, the tight ends and things like that? What stood out to me is obviously Keegan Johnson. No doubt, there's no hiding that. Again, Arlen Bruce, which this bothers me, Dean, a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is, in recruiting, for someone like me to, when I look at athletic talent, it is so easy to be like, dude, if you just chose Iowa, I promise you, you will have a very strong chance of making big time money in the NFL. At the very least, you're going to be turned into a strong young man, by going to Iowa. And that's case in point by Keegan Johnson, who wasn't even, he's 4 stars, and so wasn't Arlen Bruce. But Dean, it wasn't like they were top 100. Okay. They were 4-star guys, but they weren't top 100. They come to Iowa and they immediately come in there and make a difference, because mixed with their talent and the Iowa coaching staff, it's beautiful, baby. It's beautiful. So anyways.
Yeah. No, and I absolutely agree with you on all counts that Iowa gets these guys prepared for the NFL. I just wish we had more success in the win column and more West titles to go with that. There's no doubt on the success on putting people in the NFL. Now I just want to see that convert into titles.
Yeah, without question, Dean, it would be the titles, because Iowa, if you go from 2016, I believe is 13th. They're top 15 for sure in wins since 2015, which is awesome. That's incredible. It is, on a side note here, because we are talking the spring practice, and I'm trying to find these post-spring rankings. I'll be able to find it. But I've said it to you multiple times, Dean. Iowa sports right now is just phenomenal. Every sport has a chance to do well, and not just do well. If we go through it all, Dean, football finished 15th in the country. Basketball was top 5 for most of the year. Women's basketball made Sweet 16. Iowa baseball is in the NCAA tournament as of right now. The women's soccer made the NCAA tournament, won the Big Ten. The wrestling team won a national championship. This is, in my eyes, pretty incredible, Dean. What do you think?
Oh, no, it is incredible. And there are so many of the other sports that you left off, the tennis and the track, that are doing well. I think the golf team didn't make the NCAA tournament, but I believe one of their golfers made an automatic bid, so he's in there representing the university and an automatic bid. Yeah, it's just phenomenal. And what the spring sports have done this year, of course, some of them were fall sports moved to the spring, but
yeah.
But everybody's done so well. I think the only exception might be the volleyball team. I'm not sure how they did, but I know that they're not always one of the better teams when they're out there. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy, because volleyball's big in the state of Iowa, Dean. It's, Nebraska's women's volleyball team pretty dang good, Yeah, that surprised me. But yeah, but Dean, does the credit go to Gary Barta? Is that where it goes?
Well, I don't know how much credit he gets, but he gets credit for hiring the right coaches. He put the right coaches in place to coach these guys. The baseball coach, the soccer coach, the softball coach. Softball team is doing well. All these people. Now, wasn't it the volleyball coach he fired, or was it the softball coach he fired?
Right, exactly. The softball coach and field hockey, gave a lawsuit against Iowa, for whatever you want to call it, feminism. I don't know, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and the field hockey team, I don't know, maybe you mentioned it's in the Final Four of the NCAA.
That is a massive turnaround, Dean, to lose your coach and, with that kind of departure. And then, now you're in the NCAA tournament. It's funny, Dean. I had this and I wasn't talking through it I usually do. What's up? What's up?
Out of all those sports, which coach do you think that Iowa cannot afford to lose?
That's a great question.
It can be men or women. In your opinion.
I would probably say I think Iowa would be able to find someone to replace Fran McCaffrey. I do. So now that would be a big loss. There's no question about it. Same for Iowa women's basketball. I think they would find the right person. And that's not me saying that they're not fantastic coaches. They are. I just think that it would be easier. Unquestionably for me, Dean, it is football, because in football, you never truly know what's going to happen until the person gets the reins and where they take it. Iowa, when they lose Kirk Ferentz, I am going to be on the edge of my seat to see what happens. I mean, I really am, because it's just the way it is, Dean. It really is. Who would it be for you?
I was thinking the baseball coach.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Why is that though?
And I was going to leave football out of it, because I think that goes without saying that.
Yeah.
Kirk is the king.
Oh yeah, you were asking about the small. Yeah. You were asking about the smaller sports. I would agree with you on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the baseball coach, because I think he's done so much for that program since he's come on board, and I don't think they can afford to lose him.
I'm with you 100%. That's a great analysis. I think Iowa baseball would it's not easy to find somebody to do what Rick Heller's done. Dean, Iowa baseball is not known for, getting guys to the MLB or being a consistent Big Ten title team. By the way, what do you think of the hat, dude?
I love it.
It's sweet.
I gotta get me a new hat too, because mine kind of look a little funky and frayed.
You got to get the baseball hat. To me, the baseball hat is the hat. I chose this one for the audience that's listening and not watching. I chose the Iowa baseball hat. I chose the what would you call this, camo, but it's more military camo versus hunting camo.
Camouflage.
Yeah, camouflage. Yeah, I would call it camouflage. Army camouflage. Just call it that. And listen, Dean, I love the black and gold hat. Obviously, I love it. Mm-hmm. But in my opinion, unquestionably, it is harder to put that hat with other clothes. It is, and so that's why I chose this. And this hat looks good. So, but I'm probably gonna get both hats, dude. Probably. That's just how I am. So
I'm definitely gonna be ordering a new one soon.
Yeah. Once it starts inching towards football season, Dean, it is what it is. You start getting excited, and you love the gear. So, going, just to put a bow on open practice, I'm happy that Josiah Meeman was back. I think he's very talented, Dean. I was happy to see him. I didn't want to lose him. I will say it's strange that Iowa, in recruiting, you look at Iowa, they are always in the top 6 for some guy, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like a girl, or it's like a girlfriend or a boy, whatever, dude, being strung along, and then, okay, see ya. And they choose some other school. That bothers me so much. Not that the recruit does that, but just that Iowa allows themselves to be strung along like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in noticing that, but they have swung and missed on many a tight ends, Dean, in the past year or two now. If you really look at it, it would be about 6-7 guys, dude. So, but I'm happy that Josiah Meeman came back. And so, for me on the spring, it was good to see them. Sam Laporta, he's going to be the top tight end. Tyler, what'd you think about Tyler Goodson's comments, Dean, about what he wants to be? He wants to be the Doak Walker Award winner. What'd you think on that?
I love his attitude. I love it, because he's got a goal in mind and he'll work hard to get it. I don't know, we'll have to wait till the season starts to see how he does. I do believe he'll get over 1,000 yards rushing, but to get the Doak Walker Award, he might have to be closer to 2,000. But we'll see. He's got some competition from his rival over at Iowa State.
Dude, in my draft video, when that Iowa State running back got drafted, I was so ticked, Dean, because the guy, his stats were so low. It was like he didn't even play. And so, okay, yeah. So here, we may come back to the spring practice here, but I'm going to move us towards the NFL and, okay, Iowa in the NFL. One thing that became abundantly clear to me when I was paying attention to it is that, and by the way, folks, just like recruiting, I don't really care much for the NFL draft. I check in for Iowa guys, but that's it. But Dean, one thing that became abundantly clear is that from the end of the season to the NFL draft is an entire competition in and of itself from guys. It's a second competition. You have what you did on the field, and then you have that little competition in run up to the NFL draft. And it includes the combine. It includes workouts. It includes performances at the for instance, Chauncey Golston did very well at the Senior Bowl. Alaric Jackson did not, and it mattered. It mattered a lot. You look at Davion Nixon. From the end of the season all the way to the actual draft, he just kept slipping and slipping and slipping because he didn't do anything, Dean, after the season that was like, wow, okay. So he kept being dropped in the minds of people. And, I'll just say that it is crazy how much of a competition it really is after the season, as opposed to what you saw with your own two eyes from the production itself in college. So
I got a question for you on this.
What's up?
Okay, when Davion Nixon opted out for the NFL, he was considered a first or second round draft pick by all the experts.
Yes.
Which is why he came out. Do you think if he'd have known he was going to go in the 5th round and lose millions of dollars by being a 5th rounder, do you think he would have stayed in Iowa one more year to try to secure a first or second round and millions more money?
Dean is on fire today. I love the question. Yes, he would have came back. And listen, Dean, I've made this article. I'm trying to find the article for the 247 rankings, and it's bothering me that I can't find it. Anyways, to answer that question,
ESPN, because I think ESPN's one that did the actual rankings.
Really? Okay. Here it is. Here it is. I found it. But to answer the question, if he knew that he was going to go then, absolutely he would have came back to Iowa. And everybody says that your draft stock will never be higher. They always say that. And I just think that is the dumbest thing that you can say, because the reality is that you can always drop in the minds of people, and you can always gain ground. If Davion Nixon came back and if he had 3/4 of the season he just had, he would have been a guaranteed second first-round pick, Dean. With 2 seasons like that, I mean, that's why Chauncey Golston got picked, because over 3 seasons, there was solid production. By the way, Bimbo, Skip Bayless, said that that was a terrible pick, getting Chauncey Golston. The funny thing is, Chauncey Golston will probably end up being the 2nd or 3rd best pick for the Cowboys, because Iowa Hawkeyes are always solid in the NFL. But anyways, I digress. But yeah, Dean, I think he would have came back. I mean, what do you think? I mean, was it shocking to you? Because it seemed like you were a little surprised about it. I did a poll question. What was the most surprising? Chauncey Golston being the first off the board, Alaric Jackson not getting drafted, or Nixon dropping to the 5th? What were your thoughts on the draft and just things like that?
I think Nixon dropping till the 5th. I mean, I could see a scenario where he could have dropped to the 3rd or something. But I think we both agreed on our pre-draft show that he was going to be the first Hawkeye off the board.
100%. By the way, Dean,
he wasn't
your
even
boy
the second
was
Hawkeye off the board.
Yeah, he was the third. You're right. By the way, your boy here was correct. I said 4 Hawkeyes would go, maybe 5, and I told you, Dean, with the and you were high on Nick Neiman as well, but I'm giving myself a little pat on the back. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, although I didn't think Neiman would be one of the 4. I really didn't. I said he could possibly go on the 7th, but I thought it more of an undrafted free agent.
I was surprised.
My 4 would have included Alaric Jackson, and of course, that's shocking. That's, to me, that's as shocking as Davian Nixon dropping down. Alaric Jackson. I don't know how you leave a 4-year starter at left tackle. How do you leave him out of your? What did he do that made him so undesirable?
That is, it's a great question, because that's the perfect word, undesirable. It makes zero. I mean, Dean, he went, think about this, okay? And Iowa fans, think about this with me, be in my thought bubble with me. Alaric Jackson went from being higher than Tristan Wirfs on a lot of people's board, all the way to being undrafted, Dean.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not as though he played bad. I mean, the dude was a second-team All Big Ten performer twice. He might have been a first team the last year. It is shocking. That, to me, that was the most shocking. Because I could see a scenario where Nixon slid. I could. Mm-hmm. Even though that's still shocking, that I could still see that. When Golston was the first off the board, that was not shocking to me at all. The dude had a solid combine. He's 6'5", with great length. He can play on the inside. He can play on the outside. That was not shocking to me one bit. Alaric Jackson was the most shocking, Dean. It was shocking. Now,
I know. You know what? Last year he came back. I mean, he flirted with the idea of leaving for the NFL, but he decided to come back to increase his chances for the NFL. Do you think that he had an inkling and feedback last year that would have pointed to something like this?
I think so, Dean. I think last year he was further from the NFL than we thought. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't think he was closer last year. I think he was further. Mm-hmm. When I read some of the reports, it was just strange. People were not high on him like they usually are for Iowa offensive linemen, Dean. Mm-hmm. I saw somebody write that his feet work, aka footwork, was terrible. Literally saying that it was terrible. And then also, Dean, it's not as though he dominated in the combine. So, and then his Senior Bowl thing hurt him as well.
Oh yeah. So and I think too, you remember he didn't play well at the beginning of the season. He started to come on later in the season. And so yes. I'm wondering if that hurt him too. I think there must have been a lot of things that hurt that guy.
By the way, do you like these headphones? Be honest with me right now.
They look fine, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I well, because they are kind of big here. I'm gonna slide them in to my phone here.
Oh yeah, you sound. Yeah, oh man, you sound so much better with those on.
These?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna leave them. Let's do it, baby. Yeah, Dean, it was shocking that Alaric went that low. No question about it. Or now the good news is that the NFL is a meritocracy. That's the good news. And I think he went to a good place in the Rams. The Rams gave Austin Blythe a shot and he took it, and he did very well. They did take, I believe, I don't know for sure if this is correct, but I think they took the guy from Northwestern, But listen, Dean, if he is good enough to play in the NFL, he will play. We both know that. So that's the good news. But still,
he has an opportunity. He has his opportunity. He has his shot. Now it's up to him to go out and earn it.
I think Brandon Smith, Sean Byer, I think all the Hawkeyes who were undrafted have a good shot. I really do.
Oh, I do. What do you think about Sean Byer as a tight end going to the Broncos where they've already got Noah Fant?
I love it, dude. I love it. I love it. I really do.
Wouldn't it be nice to see those two line up together for
that would be
plays?
That would be seriously, Dean. That would be incredible. That would be so awesome. It really would. It would be good for Iowa. It would be good for Sean Byer. I don't think he threatens Noah Fant at all. I think Sean Byer would be an excellent number 2. He can block. He can run routes. I think Sean Byer is an excellent second option at tight end. Out of the undrafted guys, Dean, who do you think has the best shot, and who do you feel good about making a roster?
I'm going to go with Larry Jackson. I think he's got the best shot.
Yeah, me too.
He's got talent, undeniably, and he's going to have his shot to go and do it. And I think he's got the best shot of catching on. But honestly, I can make a case where everybody but Corey Cronk makes the team.
Yeah, me too. You're exactly right.
Were you surprised about that one? That was surprised me. He was not on my list.
Where did he go? I don't remember. Where did he go?
I think he went to Tennessee. That's on my list here real quick. Let me pull it up.
To answer your question, no, it did not surprise me. I mean, here's the reality, folks, is that
he went to the Packers.
Packers. He stayed close to home. Honestly, folks, I can make a case that the defensive line for Iowa is the best position right now. I mean, Dean, every starter at defensive end has been drafted since, and then if you go back to Parker Hesse, he's on the Titans as well. I mean, not on the defensive line, but he's in the NFL. So you can make a case for the defensive line. And my overall point is that if you start for the Iowa Hawkeyes, if you start, and I can even almost say if you just play, you will have a shot in the NFL. That is where the Iowa program is right now, which is amazing. And it needs to be turned into Big West titles, honestly. But that's where it is, Dean. And I believe 36 Iowa Hawkeyes have been drafted since 2015 or 16.
That's a good number. That's quite a number. You know who I'm most excited about who did actually get drafted?
Tell me.
Amir Smith. I'll tell you, I've been saying that name for years. I still can't get it right.
Yeah,
I love the fact that the Vikings chosen. You know, the Vikings have always been my team.
I didn't know that.
It's going to be exciting to see him. Hopefully, he gets back there and he does a lot of kick returns and stuff.
Yeah,
and what he can do, and I think that's where he'll play at first. And then work his way into a wide receiver role. But I think he's going to start there, and I'm excited to see that. The only unfortunate part is, as you well know, we've got so many freaking California teams that teams like Minnesota rarely get on our TV here unless they end up on like a Monday night or a Sunday night football.
Yeah, you have to get Sunday ticket to watch the Vikings out here. Yeah, I barely see Bears games now. Folks, I'll be honest. I'm not a diehard Bears fan. Honestly, I'm not. I like the Bears. I'm not diehard though. I mean, I'm a diehard Iowa fan. Yeah, Dean, it's awesome. It seems when I was doing the draft video, it seemed that he was the most. People were excited that he was drafted. Iowa fans, outside of Iowa fans, Minnesota fans were very excited, and I agree with it. I do. He helps in the kick return right away, literally right away. Now, then again, Iowa State's running back, who literally wasn't even good enough to get over 500 yards in college, is who Amir Smith-Marset will be competing against. But I think Amir Smith-Marset will do just fine, and he'll beat him out easily. Also, Minnesota, Dean, as a Vikings fan, you know you got an excellent pick with Amir Smith-Marset. There's still a lot of growth for him, and he just reminds me of a guy that will find a way to succeed, and that's a great compliment.
You know what my hope is this year for the
What
Vikings?
is it? What?
That Kirk Cousins finally gets hurt enough that he can't play for the Vikings anymore.
Dean, from what I hear,
I just don't like Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. I really don't. I just feel like he's holding the Vikings back somehow. But
maybe he's. I don't know, Dean. I mean, would you rather have him or be in a situation? Would you? Because Kirk Cousins kind of reminds me of what the Cowboys are with. You have a top 15 quarterback, but he is not. Kirk Cousins is never going to win football games for you. You know, so you have to find a way, but he's not going to lose them either. So you have to find a way elsewhere. From what I hear, Nate Stanley is doing an excellent job. You know, Browning, who I know personally is competing as well, Jake Browning. So, you know, who knows? Maybe Nate Stanley will be. It would not shock me at all, Dean, if Nate Stanley became your guys' guy. That would not shock me in the least. Also, from the draft, and I said this, the 4 guys and what easily could have been 5 Iowa draft picks. I mean, it was close. I guarantee you, if there was just 5 more picks, Iowa would have had 5 draft picks. But anyways, the amount of draft picks that Iowa has shows where they are at in the Big Ten and in the national landscape. And in my opinion, how much further ahead Iowa is from Iowa State. You know, Iowa is so established, Dean, you know, not just in college, but NFL teams they trust Iowa draft picks. I can't think the only draft pick that there's 2 picks and one of them is on the fence, but there's 2 people that I can think that got drafted from Iowa that has not been as productive as they could be. Outside of that, everybody contributes that gets drafted, and that would be Carl Davis and Josh Jackson for the Packers, Dean. So, but the point is that Iowa guys, when they go to the NFL, they are productive. They may not be all Big Ten guys, but they are productive. They will do well for you. So, listen, folks. Again, from what I watched in the draft, my biggest takeaway is that that the NFL draft, as much as GMs and executives want to say that the guys on television and the media don't know jack squat, and they don't, Dean. I mean, the truth is, if you think about Mel Kiper, he gets 90% of the picks wrong. He gets 90% of them wrong. But it does seem that in the NFL, that the media does play a role in who gets picked and who does not. And it is pretty interesting, the drama that takes place from the end of the season all the way to the draft, that drama that takes place. So that's one takeaway. And then the other takeaway is just how solid Iowa football is right now and the draft picks. I was so excited. Now, this is a perfect place to talk about Zach Wilson, Dean. By the way, guys, go to 247hawkeye.com. Your guys' support has been phenomenal. When you guys share, I see it. The best place to find me and Dean is on Facebook, Nolan Hawkeye Anthony, and then Dean Frein, aka Dean Frein, spelled Frein. And then YouTube, Nolan Hawkeye Anthony. The podcast has just been growing. The NHA podcast, this podcast that you're listening to right now, has been growing fantastically. And me and Dean love doing this. We love doing this. Anyways, this is a perfect place, Dean, to talk about Zach Wilson. Can you explain what the drama or whatever it was, what you told me off air, so to speak?
Okay. From what I understand, Zach Wilson has considered Iowa when Iowa was recruiting him, the same time they were recruiting Spencer Petras. And Zach Wilson had a campus visitation set up, but the night before, Spencer Petras committed to Iowa, and I do remember this.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to be reminded with Rob Howe's tweet out there the other day. The tweet that he retweeted that he tweeted back then.
Rob Howe, aka Rob Ho.
Yeah. But at that point, I can't remember I'm not sure if Zach Wilson canceled his visit because he saw the handwriting on the wall.
Yeah.
Or if Iowa canceled his visit. It seemed to me like Iowa canceled its visit after Spencer Petras. But the thing is I think the visitation with Zach Wilson coming forced on Spencer Petras's hand. I think at the time it was speculation that he felt like if Zach Wilson got on campus and he'd probably commit. And so I think my opinion was that Spencer the night before went ahead and committed. So that the coaches knew that he was serious about Iowa and that they wouldn't take Zach Wilson. And honestly, who did Zach Wilson play for? BYU?
BYU, baby.
Oh yeah, man, they had quite the offense this year.
Yeah, they did. You know, here's my thoughts on it, Dean. You know, I saw all these Iowa fans saying, "Oh my gosh, Iowa missed, hoo, you know, all that nonsense." And I'm just thinking in my head, dude, Zach Wilson, the whole Pac-12 missed out on him. The entire Pac-12. You know, at least Iowa was in it. And honestly, this actually, and it's not as though Spencer Petras has been a bust. I mean, he literally took Iowa to nearly won the West in his first year, and Iowa finished top 15. Anyways, at least Iowa was in on Zach Wilson, Dean. So many teams didn't even offer him. Iowa, so that makes me confident in Iowa's ability to assess talent. Obviously, I do think that they missed out on Trey Lance. You know, it sounds like they wanted to offer him at safety, and I'm sure he would have been good at that position, honestly. But it is kind of shocking, Dean. I'm not going to lie. It is kind of shocking that you see where Trey Lance is now, and you're like, how in the world did so many people miss, not just by a little bit, but by a lot?
Yeah,
how
he
good
wanted
he
to play
actually
quarterback,
was.
right?
Yeah.
He wanted to play quarterback, right? And I think Minnesota and Iowa offered him a DB back or something like that.
Right.
You know,
so and it's interesting, you know, it's but still, at least Iowa was in on Trey Lance, and there were many teams who were not. So, and if you think about it, Dean, the last three starting Iowa quarterbacks have all made the NFL and been drafted. Jake Rudock, Nate Stanley, CJ Beathard, they all were drafted. They are all. Go ahead.
Ricky Stanzi. He played with the Chiefs for a few years.
Right. So that would be the last four starting. Well, no, because it went Stanzi, then it went James Vandenberg. And honestly, folks, I've said this many times. I think James Vandenberg would have been drafted had Iowa not switched to Greg Davis, you know, from Ken O'Keefe. That man, Dean, that just thinking back to that.
That Greg Davis, oh my God, that was awful. That was awful. At
Dean,
first, I was so excited when he got hired, thinking what he could do for Iowa's offense, and
he blew it up, dude. He blew it up, Dean. He literally set a grenade on the Iowa offense, and you know it is interesting looking back on it. You know, he had one good season with Iowa, maybe two. You could say 2015 and 16, but you know, when he got there, Iowa was just so bad on offense. And, you know, looking at how Iowa does on their pro day results, you know, when he got there, he said Iowa needed to get faster at wide receiver. Okay, fine. But obviously there is a big difference between game speed, track speed, you know, things like that. And Iowa does an excellent job of developing guys and getting them faster. So I don't necessarily buy into it. Anyways, that, you know, that was crazy, but it's over now. It's done. It's over and done. You know, that brings me to another thing, Dean. What are the expectations for Brian Ferentz and this Iowa offense this year when last year's offense scored 30 plus points in nearly every game, I think every game but the first two. What is the expectation this year for this offense?
I want to see them do the exact same thing again.
Yeah.
This time not lose to Purdue and Northwestern. Find a way to win. Honestly, they were just one touchdown or one field goal away from winning both of those games.
It is crazy, Dean. It is absolutely crazy how close
In the
Iowa.
Northwestern game, we had that one until the very end when Northwestern took the lead, and we still had time to go down and take the lead back, but we didn't do very well.
I can't remember there was something that he didn't run the football. That's right. He didn't run the football. But anyways.
No. Yeah, we're up 17-0 and he's throwing the hell out of the football. Remember that?
Yeah, it was crazy.
It's like
yeah, it was insane. Folks, but I will say this, for as much disdain as Iowa fans or fans in general always put on the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, hashtag quarterback / hashtag head coach people. He had an excellent year last year, Dean. Excellent. Outside of that game, that was not good. But Iowa, for all intents and purposes, that was their best offensive output in years. And for me, I don't see why Iowa cannot be a top 50 scoring offense top 55, every year. And that's what I expect. Iowa to be top 55 as a scoring offense, whatever that is, 30 points a game, 31, 32, whatever it ends up being. I don't see why Iowa can't be that. But that's my expectation, Dean. Looking at these Alex Padilla highlights, and just putting together everything that has happened, in the past week, Dean, for me, it is pretty remarkable that if you are a starter on the defensive line, what, in your eyes, Dean, what positions would you say in the last 3 years have been the most successful for Iowa as far as production in the NFL?
I would say the defensive line, obviously. In my opinion. This year, I don't know that the defensive line is going to have that same kind of production because most of them are going to be new. I mean, they're talented, but they're going to be new. They'll have to gel to work together. Yeah. But I feel confident with our linebackers and DBs. I feel confident that nobody's going to get anything on our defense.
Yeah, Dean, because I was thinking about it. I was just like, the defensive line might actually be the past 3 years. It might be the best position on Iowa. You could argue tight end. I don't think you could almost argue offensive line. Tyler Linderbaum will be a top two round pick. Tristan Wirfs was a first round pick. So obviously the O-line is still very good, but it is remarkable how good the defensive line has been, and low key the linebacker group, Dean. I mean, you have Ben Neiman, Nick Neiman now, Josie Jewell. Am I missing anyone in the past couple of years who are in the NFL from the linebacker group? I don't think so. But my last thought on the highlights that I'm seeing, Dean, is that Jack Campbell is going to be a monster. He seems to me like the perfect Iowa linebacker. He's 6'4", 6'5". He can move. Apparently everybody, how they assess it, his mindset, he has a crazy linebacker mindset. That's how you would say it. He's just strong like that. And so I'm excited, Dean. This team, I was saying this to you before these post-spring assessments came out. I said Iowa was top 15, and a lot of teams did have them as top 15, Dean. Dean, do you think Iowa is top 15 after watching spring? What do you think?
Boy, without watching anybody else, I'm just going to have to take the experts, ESPN and all those guys.
Yeah.
If they're top 15, they're top 15. I don't know, because I don't think any of the open practices went as smooth or as good as they could, as they probably have in some practices. Jack Campbell even said Saturday after the practice that he felt that they had an up and down. They had good practices, they had bad practices. Things went great, things didn't go so great, but he feels like they'll get there by August. when they go to fall camp, that they'll be ready to go. And
I sure hope so, dude.
And he's become quite the leader on there, a vocal leader. And Kayvon Merriweather, which I got a story with that one.
Yeah, what's up?
Kayvon is becoming a leader, and I really like that. And I really like how he handled the whole situation last summer. With the racist stuff. I really appreciate how he handled it. I mean, he didn't get to play a lot right away this year.
Yeah.
But he did come on. He came on, got his chance, and he finished the season very well. So he's going to do so good. But he had after the practice was over, he and some of the teammates got together for a little party, a little get together in somebody's backyard. He went live on Instagram, and I got a notice that he was live. So I went ahead and checked out his live. I was the only person viewing his live, so he and I were having a conversation.
Wow. Okay.
Of course, we weren't. He was talking to me, but I was typing my questions
and
stuff to him. And he explained to me. I said, "Man, what's going on behind you?" And he goes, "It's a party going on, man." He goes, "After the practice, we're out here blowing some steam."
I will say that Kayvon, I would not recommend continuing to do that. You never know. Seriously, I would not. Just thinking back to my days, but that's pretty cool. Wow, you had a conversation with Kayvon. He's good.
We talked. Me typed, him talking for about 5 minutes or so, and then it was really hard for me because like you knew, I was on the beach in Ventura this weekend, and with your cell phone, it's so hard on the beach, you can't hardly see your screen.
Right. Yeah. Very, 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 very true. I still don't see an avenue for Xavier. The only avenue I see for Xavier Williams is that he might be able to beat out Jack Kerner or Dane Belton. That's the only avenue I really see, because the other guys, Kayvon, Riley, and Matt, I see them pretty solidified in their spots. So
I do too. Yeah. I think what we're going to see out of Xavier Williams is not a starting position. I think we're going to see him come in and back up a couple of different roles, maybe the safety, a corner, a cash position or something. Just as a backup when somebody needs a breather for a minute. And I think he's the type of person they can actually move him around a little bit.
He might be a punt returner as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets that.
It's going to be hard to keep him off the field unless he's injured like he has been most of the practice.
Yeah.
And I know he's been out because of injury, but no, it'll be hard to keep him off the field, but they'll figure a way to use him. But I don't see him as a starter because our starters from last year are all set. They're back.
Yeah, they are set.
Xavier Williams will have to be pretty darn good to take one of their job spots from them.
Ryan Craner up for Belgian League MVP. Look at that. Look at that.
He leads his team in points and rebounds.
Woo! Ryan Craner. I will say, Dean, he continued to get better in his time at Iowa. There were times where it's like, he's capable of doing this. He moved well for a 6'9", 6'10" guy. He really did. I don't know. In my eyes, he was always capable. It just, I don't know. It just didn't happen. I don't know. But so
wasn't he hurt some of the time during his career?
I don't remember. I really don't. I think he probably was. I don't know. It's pretty. Either way, him, his class with him and Jabo, obviously were solid class. And there, there is something to be said about, recruiting guys that come from your state, because, they're fans of this program, which we'll get to here in a second, with the CJ Fredrick stuff. I want to do the Iowa quarterbacks. We're going to rank the quarterbacks here, top 5, and we're going to go, when we do defensive line and offensive line, Dean, are we going to do top 5 offensive tackles, or are we just going to do top 5 offensive linemen? You see what I'm saying? What do you think?
I think, because of the way Iowa does it, I think we should just say offensive linemen.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they always put their 5 best guys out and then they move them around course of the game.
Totally agree. Okay, Dean, I want you to go first. And then I already have it kind of set up in my head, but I want you to go first. Top 5 Iowa quarterbacks of all time, folks. Dean is going to go here. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, here's the actual. Now, I'm going to give you 2 top 5s. My top 5 and the actual. Here's the actual top 5 based on yardage, wins, and all things like that. Touchdowns. Okay, Chuck Long was number 1.
Yeah.
Nate Stanley's number 2. Drew Tate's number 3. Ricky Stanzi's number 4. And number 5 is Chuck Hartlett. Okay. I don't necessarily agree because these guys were all 3 and 4 year starters.
Right.
Okay. So there are some people who didn't make the top only because they were only 1 and 2 year starters. So
sure.
I'm starting my top 5 with Chuck Long. And,
I agree.
I went with Nate Stanley as number 2.
Whoo! Okay.
Number 3 is Randy Duncan.
Wow!
About Randy Duncan.
Tell us about Duncan. Tell us about Randy Duncan.
I'm going to tell you about Randy Duncan. He started 2 years. He started for 2 years. The team went 15-2-2, won 2 Rose Bowls, won a national championship under him. So I got to believe that Randy Duncan needs to be in there. If he had 4 years and as many games, you got to remember, this is when they only had 8 or 9 games a season.
Right. You make an excellent point, Dean. I like that. That's good. Yeah.
Okay. Coming in at number 4, Brad Banks.
Yeah.
He was a Heisman runner-up, just like Chuck Long. He was very productive. The only game they lost until they got to the bowl game, which was the Orange Bowl against USC. The only game they lost was Iowa State, and that's because Brad Banks had hurt his hands in that game and fumbled the ball a couple times that set Iowa State up in great field position. The only reason, once Brad got his hands fixed and ready to go for the next week, nobody stopped him.
Right. He was crazy.
Okay. I had a hard time with this next one, naming my number 5. So we have a tie.
Okay.
Drew Tate, CJ Beathard, and Ricky Stanzi.
Well, I'm going to tell you, folks, Dean has to pick one for his 5th. Who are you going with, Dean?
Okay, I'm going to pick one. I'm going to go with CJ.
Okay, I like it. All right, I like it. Folks, I don't disagree with anything Dean said because it's all solid. And you make an excellent point for Randy Duncan. You do. You make an excellent point. For me, folks, obviously Chuck Long is number 1. Okay. He not only dominated in the stats section, but they were converted to wins. So Chuck Long is number 1 for me. Number 2, I would probably go, gosh darn it. It's hard because for me, wins in production matters a lot. Not the stats, not necessarily the stats, but the actual wins and stuff. If I had, so I'm just going to do it. I would go Chuck Long 1. I would probably go with CJ Beathard 2. I would probably go Brad Banks 3 because that season was just incredibly good. I would probably go Nate Stanley 4. And for me, Nate Stanley is much closer with CJ Beathard and Brad Banks than it seems. And then 5th, Dean, it is close between Drew Tate because Drew Tate had an excellent season. But he also did let fans down a little bit with a few of his seasons. A little bit. Iowa kind of went downhill a little bit, but he still had excellent stats. I would probably go with my 5th. It's close between him and Ricky Stanzi.
See how tough it is, dude? It's tough.
I would probably go with Drew Tate because Ricky Stanzi comparatively had some nice guys to throw to. You know, Marvin McNutt is Iowa's, you know, top wide receiver. You know, if you look back at the Kirk Ferentz era, folks, the only time that the wide receiver, there's 3 times where the wide receiver group have been solid. And that has been the early 2000s, okay, ish. The 2008 to 2010 or 11 with McNutt, you know, Cavante Martin Manley, Keegan Davis, or Keen, I think it's Keenan or Keegan, one of the two. And then obviously, who am I? What's the other guy's name, Dean? The guy that was on Iowa and then left, you know, Darrell Johnson Koulianos. So, and then obviously now the wide receiver group with Kelton Copeland is solid. I mean, it really is. I mean, it is worth saying, you know, with Amir Smith-Marset, because if you think about it, folks, and that's why I have CJ Beathard so high, because he had no one to throw to besides Kittle. No one. Okay. Iowa's wide receiver group was average at best. Okay. I'm being very nice saying that it was average. So, you know, for me, Dean, yeah, real quick, the wide receiver group, folks, last year, maybe they didn't live up to the expectations, but our expectations were pretty dang high. And, you know, you just look at the position now, you know, it is very healthy. You know, you have the 6'3", 6'4" types with you have every type of wide receiver you need. You have the slot guy, you have the multi-purpose guy with Tyrone Tracy. You know, it's just very solid right now. And that deserves credit. And then, you know, Dean, Nate Stanley, I've always been high on Nate Stanley. And honestly, Dean, he had, for the most part, his wide receiver group was average as well. You know, Brandon Smith and Amir Smith-Marset did not jump out of the gates until really their junior season. So, and we saw it in that last game versus USC. So what do you think, Dean? What do you think of my 5? Yeah, I'm going Drew Tate. Who did I go with, Drew Tate or Stanzi? I think I went with Drew Tate as my 5th. Yeah.
No, and honestly, I think we have the same top 5. We just had them in different order.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't have Randy Duncan in there, but you make an excellent point.
That's true. Yeah.
You make an excellent point. So there's our top 5, folks, of Iowa quarterbacks. And it is very hard. It is very hard because, like I said, for me, I think of 2 things. I think of the how the team did, and obviously how a team did is not completely beholden on the quarterback, especially in football, because there's so many other things going on. But also, what did the quarterback have to throw to? And for me, Dean, Stanley and CJ Beathard, you know, probably had the least amount of wide receivers to throw to out of the top 5 that I named. So, you know, there it is, folks. All right. We're winding it down here. I do want to mention that ESPN had in the post-spring Iowa as a top 15 team. And, you know, I got to tell you, Dean, and we're going to talk about CJ Fredrick here because, you know, we have to. But, you know, Dean, I think Iowa is going to be top 15 in the AP and the coaches poll. I really do. I think that Iowa is gaining some steam. And, you know, I got to tell you, you know, looking at the roster, it deserves it. It really does. You know, there's a lot of solid young talent. There's very, very solid older talent that's here. Hopefully, I'm praying that this is not one of those years where Iowa, you know, just has an 8-win season, you know, where, you know, they just can't get over the hump. That, you know, that will be very disappointing. But anyways.
Yeah. You know, this funny story about the Iowa being top number 15 or top 15 in the spring play is that we were ahead of Wisconsin, and the Wisconsin fans on Twitter just blew up Twitter with upset about that. that how dare they think that Iowa should be ahead of Wisconsin?
They are delusional, Dean. Wisconsin fans, you're delusional. Number one, your quarterback outside of the first game didn't show jack squat. Honestly, the running game is not what it used to be. Well, currently it's not. And so, yeah, you guys, Wisconsin, you guys have a lot of areas where you guys need to prove your worth. So honestly, I think you can make a case, Wisconsin fans, that Wisconsin shouldn't even be top 25, honestly. So I think, honestly, you guys are top 25 because of the name on your jersey, honestly. Am I wrong, Dean?
No, you're not wrong, because didn't they finish the season in the top 25, and they had like a 4-3 record if you include the bowl win?
It's to me, yeah, it's one of those situations where the name is getting you guys a lot of traction here. Real quick, Dean, before we talk about CJ Fredrick, we don't talk about recruiting a lot, but were you surprised that the tight end out of West Des Moines, Eli Raridan, whose cousin went to Nebraska, the whole family has gone everywhere but Iowa. Anyways, he chose Notre Dame. Did you see that?
I did not, but I thought he had Iowa under consideration, so I did not know that he ended up with Notre Dame.
He did. He had an official visit set for Iowa. That's what's shocking to me, and I think I
can't blame him right now.
Yeah,
I mean, to choose Notre Dame over Iowa. I mean, Notre Dame is right now has a better chance of going to the playoffs than Iowa does.
Well, this is what I'll say, Dean. Hold on.
Okay.
I would say that Iowa they are not at Notre Dame's level, but Iowa has a chance as well as being a top 10 team here. I mean, they are knocking on the door. Yeah. And the only thing I will say is that Notre Dame is the only program at the tight end position that is close to Iowa in production. And so from that standpoint, I can say, okay, you didn't choose like the kid out of Iowa last year choosing Nebraska. I was like, dude, what are you doing? They haven't produced any tight ends in years, Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
In all honesty, the kid out of Iowa, didn't he live in Council Bluffs, though, which is practically in Northwestern?
Yeah.
Not Northwestern, but Nebraska.
Yeah.
So he probably grew up a Nebraska fan, and that's probably always been his dream to play for Nebraska.
And I get that. I do. So, I will say, we did talk about this early in the show, but Iowa has swung. They've been in contention for the tight end, but outside of the year where they got Josiah Meeman, Elijah Yelverton, and Luke Lachey, Iowa has been missing here. So we'll see what happens at that position. I'm not saying I'm concerned. Hopefully, this kid decides to take his actual official visit to Iowa, so that that's the only thing I would say is take your official and see if you truly want to stick with Notre Dame. As long as Iowa gets 2 out of the top 3 kids from in-state, I'm okay with it. Hopefully they can get all 3 of the top guys. I think Iowa is absolutely in the running for Xavier Nwakampe, the number 1 guy in the state. I think Iowa is right there, honestly, Dean. Anyway,
it seems like it seems like to me like he's a pretty good fan.
He is,
a lot of stuff I've seen, on Twitter, the guys he's hanging out with, the guys on the team and next year's team that are tweeting him and everything. And I mean,
Dean,
like he's a fan. I gotta believe that he's strongly leaning toward Iowa. I have to believe that.
I agree. I'm with you there. I think Iowa is right there. So we'll see, folks. I mean, Iowa has missed on 3 guys in state, 2 guys choosing Iowa State, and 1 guy choosing Notre Dame here. But in fairness, okay, I will say that, at the linebacker position, Iowa is set with, older talent and young talent. And tight end, I don't know what's happening there, but I think Iowa is still in an excellent position of having at bare minimum of top 35 class. And as long as they do that, I'm all good. Honestly, Dean, the guys at tight end who were walk-ons, I feel good that Iowa can turn those walk-ons into productive starters. I really do.
Iowa's had good luck with Iowa's always had good luck with getting walk-ons.
Yeah.
You know,
As long as you are athletic, athletic and willing to be coached, Iowa will make you a productive player, So I feel good about that, Dean. But I would like Iowa to start hitting on some of these top guys, I will say that. All right. Last thing here. I think we're going to wrap it up here. CJ Fredrick went to Kentucky, and I've told you guys, decided to go to Kentucky, and I said, hopefully I can get the other side of the story here. Anyways, but Dean, I said to you, and a lot of Iowa fans are upset. Obviously, the McCaffrey brothers are upset, and I understand that. It's a totally different situation for them because they grew up diehard Iowa fans, and they are as close to the Iowa program as one can be. But the only thing I said to you, Dean, and I wrote an article on it, that I did not think that this decision was going to pan out the way that the Fredricks hoped, and I still believe that. But the biggest thing for me is, and I've said this many times, when you leave a program, you are no longer a part of the program like someone who, like Ryan Craner, or Jordan Bohannon, who have stuck through, all years with Iowa. And what comes with that after, sports is done is phenomenal. When you can be associated with a program or a school after you're all done with sports, that is a massive, massive thing to just have in life. And I don't think, Dean, that CJ Fredrick any longer will have that. And from that standpoint, it's too bad. What are your thoughts on the situation here?
Well, I agree with you. It's sad because anybody, unless they were a grad transfer, is no longer associated with the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Yeah.
They're associated with whatever school they ended up with. And not many of these guys have found much success when they leave. Cordell Penzel.
Yeah. Nothing.
He went to, was it West Virginia, I believe?
Virginia Tech. Yeah.
And I don't think he had the season he was expecting. He might have had a better season had he stuck at Iowa.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, that's the whole point, Dean, is that, is it really going to be worth leaving what you could get out of the school? And, if we look at all the transfers, I don't see it. The only guy that I think has actually been productive a little bit was Christian Williams and maybe Macy Daly. I haven't seen Macy Daly, but the point is, folks, is that when you go to a school and you play sports there and you finish there, you get a bunch of bonuses from the school. Your name being attached to the school is a phenomenal thing to have. And when you transfer, quite frankly, you lose it. I remember Chris Carter talking about that when he was talking about, some big Ohio State player transferring and losing your name when it's associated with the school. And that's a fact. I know Iowa fans would like to think, well, no, Iowa's a very nice school. They'll still welcome Fredrick back, maybe, but not as much as they would have had he stayed. That's the fact. So, and then also when it comes to production, Dean, I just don't see it. I don't see him being as productive at Kentucky as he could have been at Iowa. And, that's because, I always say I root for Iowa, but that doesn't mean that I dislike the players. I still want them to do well. So, I just don't think that this, honestly, Dan, I don't think that this is a good situation. And I don't think it's going to end up like the Fredricks hope. And so we'll see, only time will tell here. Iowa fans are a little butthurt, though. I will say that. Are you upset, Dean?
I'm upset that he left, but I wish him the best because he does whatever reasons and however he does, however what made him leave, he had his reasons. And so I I always liked the guy, and so
Yeah,
I do wish him well at Kentucky. I don't want to wish him any ill will just because he left
obviously.
Iowa.
Yeah. No,
You know?
I'm with you, Dean. I'm right there with you. I still hope the best, but as a prognosticator here, those are my thoughts. I don't think it'll be as good over there, but and ultimately I think he transferred not because of any issues with the program, but just a case of the grass is greener. And I got to tell you, Iowa fans, when you are being applauded and having your name, just being loved like that, it is very enticing, especially by a program like Kentucky. So it does not surprise me at all. Was it potentially dirty? I don't know. Hopefully I get the story on it. We'll see. But either way, I've given my comments. Number one, I don't think it'll be as good as it could have been at Iowa. And number two, unfortunately, I think the Fredrick family probably lost what you gain when you graduate from a school and finish at that school. Quite frankly, I don't know if I want to say this, but the only individuals that can truly know what I'm saying with that are people who have gone to a school played at a school and can know what I'm talking about with being attached to the school and having that brand next to your name. The last thing is, if Fredrick can make it work at Kentucky, Kentucky is a dang nice name to have in basketball to have attached to your name as well. So, we'll see there. Anyways, so those are my thoughts. Those are Dean's thoughts as well on the situation. Wish him the best. I think Iowa basketball will be just fine. They are just fine. We're just we're going to end the NHA podcast here on some last thoughts. Listen, folks, I think Iowa football looked good. I don't think spring. I would have liked to see some other things. I've said many times, I think the running game is what's going to determine this Iowa season. And, from that standpoint, the running game has looked pretty good. I'm Dean, did you see the picture with Tyler Goodson and Dan Gable? Did you see that picture?
I did not. I must have missed that picture.
Folks, that picture is what I'm talking about when you finish out of school and you have those type of connections right there. But that was an awesome picture to see. Tyler Goodson wanting to win the Doak Walker Award and saying it out loud, I think, is an awesome goal. He seems like an awesome kid, and so that's really, really awesome. Last but not least, congratulations to the Hawkeyes being drafted. I think all of them are going to be productive at their respective teams. To just say who I think will be the most productive. Honestly, Dean, I think it'll be Chauncey Golston. I see him coming in right away and doing good. So those are my final thoughts. Dean, what do you want to leave with here?
I want to leave with basically the saying that the draft went well for these guys. There's 9 guys that signed undrafted, and yeah. I gotta believe all of them. I'm sorry. Corey Cronk, I don't think you're going to make it. You haven't played more than one game in 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No. Hold on. You're getting it in. Oh, yeah, it is Corey Cronk. Oh, my God. I thought you were talking about Jack Heflin. You are? Okay, my bad. I don't know why I was confusing the two.
I think Jack Heflin has a chance to stick very well.
I'm with you as well there. That's who I was thinking you were talking about. My bad.
Yeah. Corey Cronk, the one who played like one game, got injured. We didn't hear from him the rest of the season.
Yeah.
He didn't play the year before with Indiana because he was injured.
Yeah.
How does this guy even get a look? Trust me. How does he get a look?
Because he has Iowa attached to his name. But yeah, I know. I agree with everything you're saying.
Okay.
Anything else that you want to leave with here?
No, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I've said all my opinions through the whole course of the podcast, and so
there we go, folks. Listen, we are so grateful for your guys' support. It's been absolutely amazing. 247hawkeye.com. The podcast is truly growing. like crazy, the NHA podcast. And that's because of you guys. You guys are the ones making this happen. If you want to support us, we do have a donation spot on the 247hawkeye.com page. I'll put the link in the description. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow, and facts or feelings. Your feelings just don't matter. Go Hawks. Bye.
Bye.